Okay, so there's a lot happening with crypto legislation in Washington right now, and the rumor that just came out is the markup of the Clarity Act is happening January 15th, 2026. There's a few things we need to set straight kind of early on here. There's this shift happening from Bitcoiners to suit coiners. Suit coiners is referencing this new wave that's incoming from Wall Street and Washington, industries who traditionally wear suits. And so as crypto Twitter kind of panics, Washington crypto is becoming very much a thing. And so in today's video, we'll tell you basically everything you need to know about what's going on in crypto in Washington, expected timelines for when these critical market structure bills might actually cause this crypto boom that we're all praying for. Really, there's three key parts to this video. There's the Clarity Act versus RFIA. We'll get into what those two bills are. They're teammates, not rivals, and I'll explain that in a little bit. The second thing is the timing of the laws being passed. So we'll talk about what's happened to date, why the Clarity Act stalled in the Senate, and we'll talk about potential 2026 passage of into law, as well as are these bills going to be complementary. And then the third thing we'll cover is just the impact on overall tokens and VC-backed crypto startups. And we'll use Aave, which is going through that little debate of Aave Labs versus Aave token holders right now. We'll use that as our example. Okay, so there's three bills that matter. And if you're gonna watch this video, you need to understand this. There's three crypto bills that matter. There's Genius Act, Clarity Act, and RFIA. Genius Act was already passed into law over the summer of 2025. Both Senate and House and Trump put that into law. So that's great. That brought on stable coins. Clarity Act was also passed in the House at that time during the summer, but the Clarity Act stalled in the Senate. And this is what has caused a lot of the issues around crypto pricing recently. We were hoping the Senate would have some more progress. So those are the first two bills. And you can see Genius is already done, Clarity is about halfway done, and then RFIA is the third separate bill. And this aims to settle the differences between the senators that are fighting over who regulates what within the Clarity Act. So basically, Genius bill gets passed, then Clarity stalls, and then out of Clarity's stalling comes the RFIA revival so that it can address some of the issues around who regulates what. So basically, these three bills have to happen for crypto to be fully here, USA, everything on track. The key thing that, because Clarity Act stalled, the key thing that came out of that, the RFIA, the key difference is this invention of an asset called ancillary assets. So ancillary assets are different than traditional assets or traditional securities because they don't grant the holder equity-like rights. And what are equity-like rights? Ownership stakes, dividends, profit sharing, voting rights, all that stuff. So that's kind of the older system. This new system of ancillary assets provides a different type of rights. Those rights are utility, access to a network, and non-financial benefits, which could even mean like membership to a club or something. They are ancillary because they support each other. This RFIA is supporting the Clarity Act. Essentially, under the RFIA framework, assets or crypto is going to start under SEC oversight, and there will be different levels of oversight from the SEC. So if you're a really small crypto project, you get a little, very basically zero oversight. Once you hit 5 million, you get a little bit more oversight, and it grows and grows until we get to a point where government would consider essentially a commodity. And there's different rules for how that, qualifies a crypto as a commodity, but it has to be decentralized. It can't be fully owned by anybody, things like that. So as we shift into this new world, that's how this innovation and regulation is going to play a part. You're going to be able to start really small with minimal regulation. And then as you get bigger and you become a commodity and you get oversighted by the CFTC instead of the SEC, then you have different rules to play within. So it makes logical sense. Specifically, giving you an example here of this idea of an ancillary asset is, let's use the example of a DAO. So DAOs have internal rules that they usually sign with the creators of the token, but they don't always have direct financial claims, and that's somewhat of a problem. Or they don't always have IP claims, which is also a problem, and that's what's going on with Aave Labs, but we'll talk about it later. So the differences between our FIA and Clarity Act are important to understand. And just today, a few hours ago, Senator Cynthia Loomis tweeted this out. So she said, the Responsible Financial Innovation Act of 2026 allows major banks to offer digital asset custody, staking, and payments under proper supervision, blah, 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 blah. Essentially, she's saying, okay, this was the woman, by the way, that introduced the Clarity Act. She's essentially saying and recognizing the RFIA, the Responsible Financial Innovation Act, is going to be complementary and important in order for crypto to really, truly happen in America. The differences in the RFIA and Clarity Act are as follows. RFIA sets a very clear line between what the SEC regulates and what the CFTC regulates. So SEC regulates stuff that looks like a security. They regulate it when it's really small and more centralized. And as it becomes more decentralized, the ownership of that regulation moves towards the CFTC, which makes total sense. Again, makes total sense. Whereas the Clarity Act was really all focused on the CFTC. It was an empowerment bill for the CFTC, and it was reducing SEC overreach. So Financial Innovation Act, the Responsible Financial Innovation Act, fills the gap as far as bringing some ownership back to the SEC and making it important for the SEC to make sure that at an early stage, when these companies are centralized, they're not violating securities laws. And they have their own regulations based on milestones. That's why RFIA has emerged. One thing that we are definitely seeing, a battle in the Senate. This is Tim Scott on the left, and this is Elizabeth Warren on the right. I should use different phrasing because Tim Scott is on the right as a Republican and Elizabeth Warren's on the left as a Democrat, but you get it. Okay, so this is like the big inner working political battle of Washington right now. So within Senate, there's the Agriculture Committee and the Banking Committee. So these two are some of the leaders within the Banking Committee. And the Banking Committee is much more tied to the SEC, whereas the Agriculture Committee is much more tied to the CFTC, obviously, commodities. So Tim Scott is the chairman of the Banking Committee. That's a good thing. He loves crypto. And Elizabeth Warren is the ranking member of the Banking Committee. Ranking member being the highest member of the party, the minority party, Democrats in this scenario. Okay, so she doesn't love the risks of crypto is a good way to frame it. And I don't agree or disagree with either one of them. Frankly, I don't care enough to like really research their opinions. But I think they're both trying in their own ways to bring crypto forward. And so in the most recent version of the Clarity Act, supposedly Elizabeth's issue with it was that it would allow Trump to do meme coins and stuff like that. That's a separate debate, but that is like really one of the hearts of the issue. And one of the reasons it stalled. And so when they try to take Trump's ability away to do that, he's not going to give in, obviously. And so it also stalled. So it's bipartisan stalling. Anyways, all that's to say is that this battle is going to be super important. I think it will all get worked out. I just think everybody needs to get what they want within the bill. And so there will be just a giant compromise at some point. And I'm excited to see where that falls. That gets straightened out, hopefully, with a markup to the Clarity Act on January 15th. That's the rumor that's swirling. I don't know. We'll see, but we hope that it ends up happening. That's the Clarity Act, and that has that division. Now, the RFIA is a little more bipartisan and friendly. It's led by Cynthia Loomis, who is the Republican senator from Wyoming, and Kirsten Gillibrand, who's a Democratic senator from New York. So, I'm cheering for both of them. They've come together and they've drafted a 182-page discussion draft around the RFIA, and they've released it in September, and they're working through it. And I think Cynthia is going to use this RFIA as a way to get the Clarity Act across, and that'll be her big last push in the Senate. She announced she's retiring soon. Go, Cynthia. Thank you. The question that it kind of naturally brings up here is, does RFIA make clarity less important? The short answer is no. The long answer is that even Senator Cynthia Loomis explicitly said, I think she tweeted, RFIA will reinforce the Clarity Act. So again, this is all moving in one direction, bringing crypto to America. That's the point of it. It's all complementary. Last thing we'll cover is just an example of how this is going to impact companies. So let's use Aave token as an example. Aave token is created by Aave Labs. Aave is the native government's token of the protocol, fully centralized, non-custodial lending, borrowing. It's an amazing, amazing crypto. And it's recently been under fire because the token holders think they should get rights to own the IP and the UI front end, and Labs, Aave Labs, which is basically the entity behind all this, thinks they should get it. And it's not been clear who gets it this whole time. So that's going to be settled out as far as investor rights. Aave provides, voting, owning the Aave token provides your ability to vote on protocol upgrades. You can stake your Aave in the safety module. It gives you utility access, but it, I believe, clearly states there's no direct equity in Aave Labs or enforced profit sharing. So that is something that needs to get sorted out. Hopefully Washington can help with that. Some holders of Aave want more value accruing directly to the token and the DAO. That's kind of their stance. And although it is a little bit of a regulatory issue because it wasn't clear from the start, once we get Clarity Act and everything passed, this stuff won't happen going forward. And so really this is just an internal governance issue at the current time. Regulation, like RFIA, makes these decentralized DAOs, governance tokens, both safer, and by being safer, they become more valuable because now we're confirming they're not securities, and it allows people to invest confidently. And even if they are securities, there will be ways, I believe, for investors to get involved in that at the early stage and benefit from the uptick in a legal, compliant way. Wrapping up, all of this hopefully kicks off January 15th with the markup. And if it happens, it will obviously lead crypto projects to a big benefit. Clarity passed July 17, 2025. It got referred to the Senate, and then it stalled in the Senate. Out of that became the RFIA draft. Hopefully all this stuff gets moving in early 2026, and we get a markup. We get some agreement between the Senate's version and then the House reviewing it, and it goes to a floor vote. We get 60 votes, and this becomes law. That would be amazing. My belief is that if that happens, crypto startups are gonna explode because now there's a lot of attention, there's a lot of clarity. Regulators are saying it's okay to do it. Andreessen Horowitz is gonna launch Crypto Fund 120, and this is gonna be a boom of crypto startups. And Clarity Act drove the inflows and the formation of that. RFIA helps the VC funding scale, specifically because now companies, like if you're a DeFi or tokenized asset, you can actually sandbox and prototype with full registration. That's reduced legal costs because they're saying you're a small startup. We're not going to eat into your early stage funding. If both of these get enacted, Clarity first, then RFIA, we are booming.